Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining another episode of the Educational Leadership Podcast. We have another very special guest. Before we introduce our guest, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Ideal Impact. Ideal Impact's giving away hundreds of millions of dollars to public education in the form of a free gift, unrestricted funds. So if your district needs unrestricted funds, reach out to Ideal Impact. Today, we have Superintendent Martin from Bangs ISD. Superintendent Martin, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yes, yes. Always exciting to hear from superintendents because everybody has a unique perspective and different background. So, as we kick things off, could you share a little bit about your background?
Well, honestly, I got into education, to be the next big high school head football coach, and that's education was a means to getting that done. And then, started having a family and realized I didn't want to move up to move around I didn't want to move around to move up. And, got in, a buddy of mine told me I need to get in administration, and here we are. Now I'm doing something I never thought I'd end up doing, and loving every day of it.
That's awesome. Yeah. So it's always inspiring when you see, people work their way up through the ranks to the superintendent position. Um, just for our listeners listening in, could you share a little bit about the community and just tell us a little bit about Bangs ISD?
Yeah, no, we're just outside of Brownwood, just south of Abilene. Two-way school. Where it's we still shut down on Friday nights for football and all that good stuff. But it's a real tight knit community where it still means something to wear the green and white. And we have a lot of people that graduate and stay part of the community. And then it's just like I said, one of those small Texas towns everybody loves.
Very nice. Well, so I imagine in your career, you have experienced some challenges and some things that you have overcome. We have a lot of superintendents that listen into our podcast, and everybody goes through different things. I'd love to hear if you got a story to share of maybe a challenge that you overcame in public education, as you're working through your career. Or maybe it's an inspiring story that you had.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of those. That's why we get in the business. Is to work with kids and see kids from different backgrounds and different stories, do well in life and come back and all those things. I think the biggest challenge facing education right now is, it's weird because my first soup job was here at Bangs, and I took over right when COVID hit. So that was interesting, and we're still dealing with a changing educational landscape. I've been doing this for 22 years now, and it's a much different landscape than it was when I got started. I got it's my 17th year as administrator, and where it is from when I started just as an administrator, hiring and doing all those things is drastically different now. We're dealing with everyone seems to be dealing with enrollment drops, and I meet with our principals all the time that you know, the pool of educators out there just isn't what it was as far as number even. I've gone to job fairs where, there's more schools than there are participants in the job fair, and that's one thing that we've really had to, I guess, not shift a focus, but emphasize a focus that we talk all the time. We got to be the best teachers of teachers, because, I believe maybe 3 years ago, the commissioner released something where he said something on the first day of school, there were going to be more alt-cert teachers than college prep teachers, as far as first day on the job. So that's an interesting thing that we're trying to deal with now, because we're getting second career teachers coming in, and they haven't done student teaching. They haven't, gone to class. They haven't done these things. So kind of really things that we thought were, something we assumed teachers came with as far as backgrounds and things like that. We're really having to teach and coach through. We ask for lesson plans, but people don't really know what the purpose of those are. Expected classroom management, things like that. We're just really having to step back and really start making time to teach teachers, which is something new. as far as the challenge we're facing.
Just to make sure I'm understanding, so uh, historically, teachers had to have certain credentials as far as education and that sort of thing. But because of the shortage in teachers, now there's some certifications that can be taken to for them to get started a little quicker. Is that right?
Yeah, you have a lot of we have a whole lot more alternative certification teachers coming through. They're going through a program or something like that to get their certification. They've had a background or something like that, but haven't gone a traditional route. We're talking about 4 years of college, student teaching, all those things. We're having a whole lot more teachers come to us, from an alternate means, and may not have spent much time in a classroom or doing all the teacher prep that I was accustomed to. I remember when I first got into administration, you didn't hire many alt cert teachers. You had for every job I'd post, I'd get 50 or 60 certified, degreed teachers. A degree in education. That's just not the case anymore. You got a lot of schools that you read all the time. They're not offering the same classes anymore. They're cutting back on programs, things like that, because it's hard to get teachers qualified in those areas. And that's, like I said, that's what not too long ago I published a book about the role of the principal, and how sometimes it gets overlooked. I mean, we all know that the teachers has the highest impact on classrooms, on students, but what goes into making sure those teachers are prepared, on target, have a focus, things like that. And now I think that's even more amplified now because, like I said, there's a whole lot of on-the-job training right now that brings a new spin to it.
How is that? I mean, have you noticed a big impact that has made as far as the results that you guys are getting? Or it seems like if there was somebody, even if they didn't have the same credentials, if they were super motivated and coachable, that maybe it wouldn't make as big of a deal. I mean, what are y'all seeing on your side?
No, I really believe in our system. We have a system that's very we pour into our formative assessment. We make sure we know where our kids are every single day. We have systems in place for that. And as long as we're hiring the right people, number one, people that love kids, that's a mandatory, obviously. But and then the people that are motivated to do a good job, like I said, it's just we have to be a whole lot more focused on, like we really, especially this year, we all summer as I'm with the principals and whatnot, we're talking about what that looks like. And now rather than walking in and we've always been very data driven and very, I'm in classrooms as a superintendent, providing feedback to teachers. Of course, my principals are required to be in classrooms frequently, but having, used to be like, we would, hey, I've got 30 minutes. I'm going to go get 2 or 3 walkthroughs in. Or now we have to be very intentional about when we're going in and what does that teacher need. That teacher needs help with closings. I don't need to go in that teacher's classroom, the first 15, 20, 30 minutes. I need to make sure that, I'm being very intentional what that teacher needs and providing feedback for closings. So every we identify, what that teacher needs for growth. And that's the only thing we go in to see until we feel comfortable, us and the teacher, that they're ready to move on to something new. So it's very drilled down and focused. We've developed a teacher prep academy here that all our first year teachers every 6 weeks meet with me and my director of operations. And we do that. We spend half a day. We buy, of course, we do lunch with them and all that just to kind of build some camaraderie and things like that. But, we focus on teaching, and, we get them a sub and we bring them in here and they get to ask questions. And, because of course you do your beginning of the year in service and you name your focuses there and all that. But, then we usually turn them loose, but they have that background. We're finding out because a lot of our teachers don't have that background. You know, we bring them in a small group, and like I said, we spend half the day just kind of going over what we see, what they see. You know, when we're talking about you know, our lesson cycle, we'll say, okay, today we're going to talk about the middle part of our lesson cycle. 6 weeks in, where are your guys' struggles? How can we help? Um, you know, we talk about hacks all the time. We start each session with hacks. You know, what have you guys learned, done, seen that are helping you be efficient in the guided practice portion? And then they all get to, you know, kind of talk and build a camaraderie with each other, to where we're also hoping that that also helps with retention, that they have their kind of their own little cohort, you know, because it's kind of daunting sometimes to not have the answers and ask questions, especially, you know, go to your principal, your boss, whatever, and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing here, you know. And we're hoping that with this little group, they have us, they have each other, that they can just kind of another lifeline of sorts to help them out with.
That's awesome because I imagine, you know, as the new teachers evolve and get better and learn and grow, like all of us should, right, all the time. As they do that, I imagine there's a culture that's being developed there of really a kind of a tight knit community that's
Yeah,
being.
and that's the other thing when you look at, you know, teacher retention lately. You know, all these studies, you know, pay really doesn't rank very highly on there. You know, it's support, it's feeling connected, it's all these things. So and really trying to get to the root of, you know, teacher retention, things like that. We're really trying to establish an environment that you know, where they, like I said, they feel supported, they feel like they have a group that they can, you know, get comfortable with and be vulnerable, you know, because that's, man, teaching, that's one of those things that there's not a book out there, you know, there's not a textbook that says, hey, if you master this textbook, you're going to be a good teacher. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, you have to have some vulnerability and have those days where, man, there's this kid that I just don't know how to handle. There's this class, there's this content, you know, I've taught my tail off, but they're not learning, you know, all those things where you really have to open yourself up, and we're hoping we're providing them that through this group.
Love it. No, that's awesome. So let's talk about your district a little bit as far as what's coming up. What do you see on the horizon as far as, you know, any exciting things coming up? Could be football, could be whatever, you know.
Yeah, no, we're real excited what's going on in Banks right now. Like I said, that's why I try to do these as much as possible, just because I want to get the good word out about what we're doing. You know, it really starts with our teachers and students. You know, our teachers and students are working hard to really improve academically every year. You know, we really try to have a growth mindset and kind of stick to our basics, and that way, you know, we're not changing year to year. You know, teachers know when they get here, here's the pillars on which we stand, and they're not going to change. You know, we're not going to go to end services over the summer or read some book and come back with some, you know, we're going to change it, and here's something else for you to do. But like I said, it starts there. And like I said, we have amazing teachers and great kids. We've been improving every year academically, and hope to continue to do so. Um, you know, as far as, you know, we're also not naive enough to think that kids don't jump on the bus in the morning for math and science. You know, it's all the extras. You know, and this year we're welcoming a new athletic director who also hired a new girls coordinator. And you know, the buzz around our boys and girls programs this fall, whether it be cross country, football, volleyball. You know, our band went to state last year and is hoping to do so again this year.
Wow.
Just getting that community buzz to where, like I said, you know, it's a boss told me one time that you know, Jeff Adams, who was my soup at Farmersville, he told me that you know, if you have a good football year, it gets the whole year started. You know,
Yeah.
and so that's you know, and that's what it is, because you know, you want the community to be excited, and you know, they expect to send their kids to school and for them to learn and do so at a high level. But you know, the other stuff, especially at a town like Bangs, you know, like I said, the whole place shuts down on Friday nights, you know, and this is where everybody gets together to come and watch our kids, you know, perform and do things. And then, like I said, you roll into Saturday morning, do volleyball. And, you know, like I said, we're just hoping to, you know, so get a good foundation, you know, build our programs the right way. And, cause we do, I always talk to our teachers and coaches that, you know, success breeds success. So if our kids are doing well in the classroom, they should be doing well on the field, and they should, you win games, you get that confidence, and it breeds over to everything.
Yeah, yeah. It's I don't know if it's something people think about much, but of the impact that makes, like the sports and the extracurriculars, how it kind of sets the tone for so many other things in the district. You could have the best teachers in the world, but if it's,
Yeah, you need everybody wants to feel good about what they're doing,
yeah,
and that's where, like I said, when kids are winning and feeling good about themselves, they feel like they can do better in the classroom, and like I said, it just bleeds over to everything else. And like I said, you know, our one act play went to state not too long ago. Band went to state last year. Our ag program is phenomenal. We send our kids to nationals. Seems every other year we're going to Indiana for nationals in ag mechanics. And that's the deal in Banks America. Kids are doing everything. My daughter right now is in band, volleyball. I went across country in volleyball. I mean, and like I said, it just goes, and it's good because, like I said, our kids aren't, they don't have idle hands, man. They're rolling, and the good thing about that is that we have to have adults that are the sponsors and the teachers and the coaches and all those things, and everybody just wants to be a part of what we're doing.
yeah, yeah. Sounds exciting. Everything you have going on. It's a two-way school, but you're making a big impact. That's for sure. Um, well, awesome. So last question here before we close out.
Mhm.
If you were to have a leader that you've experienced in public education come on the podcast, who's the first person that comes to mind? Maybe another superintendent or
What's that you cut out
sorry.
on?
Sorry, if there was another leader in public education that you would recommend come on the podcast and share their story, who would you recommend?
Well, I tell you, one of my greatest mentors is a guy. He was superintendent when I was principal and assistant soup at Farmersville. Like I say, he's retired, but he's got a wealth of knowledge. Jeff Adams. He was a superintendent at one school for 21 years. He tells me when he got that job, money was tight and all that, scores weren't, academics weren't where they needed to be. And then, by the time he retired, that place was just rocking and rolling. He's been through so many dogfights and, accomplishments. And it just seems like I can't go to him with anything that he's like, okay, let me tell you how I've done this twice. I mean, he's just, he's just a great dude, and loves kids, but also understands that, like I said, part of this job, this isn't an easy job, you know, and you have to love kids and you have to want to work hard, and sometimes we don't want to sell both of those things, and we want to love on kids, but we don't want to work hard, or we want to work hard and not love on kids. In order to do this thing right, you've got to do both those things, and he's just been a giant advocate for kids, but like I said, other people like me that he's put into this business, he's got a whole lot of other things to do than answer my phone when I call. And he's always been there, and he's been great for me.
Love it. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine, especially, sometimes these, superintendent well, school districts in general, they're not appreciated like they should be. And so that's what we're doing. We're spreading the good word around, the great things that are happening. And I appreciate you sharing your story and what's happening at your district today. Any last thoughts before we close out?
No, I just appreciate you doing this stuff because, like I said, especially in today's world, with we're talking about vouchers and all these other things. Public education is important, and man, you got a lot of great people in this profession doing a lot of great things for kids. And I said Bangs is no different, but I know there's a lot of other places like us out there that we pour into the future, man. And that's the more stores we can get out, the better.
Absolutely. Well, Superintendent Martin, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we close out, we do want to give one final shout out to our sponsor, Ideal Impact. Ideal Impact's giving away hundreds of millions of dollars to public education in the form of a free gift. If your district needs unrestricted funds, reach out to Ideal Impact. And for those that have been tuning in, stay tuned for future episodes of the Educational Leadership Podcast.